right, Danielle. Well, here we are, week 14 of the W Hoops podcast, and we're recording at a little different time than normal because I'm going to be traveling for work for the next couple of weeks. So we'll see how next weekend's goes. But this is a Friday recording, so it's a short week for games. Yeah, I just had a couple of games to talk about from this past week.
Yeah, and an impressive one at Chicago, and then not so impressive against Dallas at home. So that was too bad.
Yeah, the first game against Chicago came out. They were in a zone, which was,
Hmm.
I thought was a really good coaching move. Chicago didn't seem to know how to attack it at
Right.
all. And um, I thought all of the Indiana players were playing with a lot of energy and aggressiveness. And Lexi broke out of her slump.
Yeah, which was huge. It was really fun to see some shots go down. But yeah, I thought overall it's just a really good game plan. Of course, Chicago's also without Reese and Vandersloot, so they're also shorthanded. But I felt like they had a really good game plan, mixing in the zone. And then they did a good job of just having whatever big rebounded the ball, just pushing it up. So you take some pressure off the, 1.5 guards that they have on the roster to do everything. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's really well balanced scoring. I think Kelsey had a great game.
yeah.
She had 26 points. She had, what, 4 of 8 on three. Sophie was 3 of 6 from
Hmm.
three. Lexi was 4 of 6. So they shot well. They played well. I thought they played the zone really well. I mean, it was just overall a good game. I mean, obviously against, possibly one of the two weakest teams, especially without Angel Reese and
Yeah.
Vandersloot, one of the either the worst or the second worst team in the league. But yeah, just given everything, being short players. They hadn't been able to sign anyone yet to take the place of Airy and Colson. So, that was just a great game, and I thought the team really responded well.
Yeah, and Turner even got some minutes, so that was good. Just at the end of the game, but yeah, and she looked fine. I don't know why they can never play her, but I do prefer Timpson to get those developmental minutes. But it still is just a strange roster construction.
It's a little mysterious, because yeah, I thought Turner looked good in those minutes.
Yeah,
She's a solid, role player and did well. So yeah, not, but overall, just a great game. And then following that up with a little bit of a stinker on Tuesday and losing to Dallas in a game that was just kind of a tale of four different quarters, with Dallas dominating the first. I think Indiana then tied it up in the second quarter. In the third quarter, Dallas pulled away, and then Indiana got it close and had a shot to win at the end and just missed the shot.
yeah, yeah. It was. They just had those scoreless stretches again, which has kind of been an issue for them all season. Probably more so with Clark out than not, but um, even against one of the worst teams in the league, you can't afford to go for long stretches without scoring. And Dallas was able to build up a lead and put some distance between them a couple times. And it's just a lot of energy to come back from that. And I thought they did a great job in the fourth quarter, getting back in and getting stops and scoring. But yeah, they weren't able to make the shot. I did think it was a good. Stephanie White called a reset timeout on that last possession. They were out of regular timeouts and um, they had the rebound, pushed up the court, got the ball to Kelsey, and she wasn't able to get anything going. And White calls the reset timeout. But there was only 1.7 seconds left on the clock then, and I thought they should have reviewed and that she had called the timeout a little bit earlier, because you can't really do that much with 1.7. So that's one of those where, in hindsight, she should have called it maybe a couple seconds earlier, or even called it immediately, maybe when they got the rebound with 13 seconds left and let them set up something. But you feel pretty good with the ball in Kelsey Mitchell's hands in a must-score situation most of the time.
Yeah, I think they shouldn't have been in that position against
Sure.
Dallas. You would hope a home game against one of the worst teams in the league. Um, you would
Yeah.
hope for better. Chloe Bibby made her first shot after signing the rest of the season contract, and
Right. Yeah.
she actually shot quite well. But Lexi had a bad shooting day.
Yeah, and I we've talked about how Boston's game really suffers with Clark out, but I think Lexi does as well. Clark is really good at passing and like passing right into the shooting pockets. And sometimes Lexi gets an open three, but the pass was a little off when it's coming from someone else. And, she isn't a super quick release. Like she needs a little time to get her shot off. And those passes from Clark are much better normally than the passes she's getting from other players. So I think her game will benefit quite a bit when Clark comes back.
That's a great point. I mean, I think that's an underrated skill that people don't talk about enough is when a guard like gets the pass right in the shooting pocket of the shooter. And I think you're right. Caitlin does a great job of doing that. And other players on the team, maybe Aaliyah probably is the second best at it. She's a great passer and she puts the ball in the right place most of the time as well. But I think that's a really underrated skill. And yeah, Lexi doesn't have a quick release, unlike Chloe Bibby, who does have a very quick release.
Hmm.
Lexi needs a little space to get her shot off. And when she has space, she's one of the best shooters in the league. And when she has to rush her shot, she's not. And
Right.
so but interesting. I'm not usually a big fan of plus minus and looking at it throughout the game, or especially on a per game basis. I'm not even a big fan. It's probably better. It evens out over the season. But Lexi was plus 14, even though she didn't score a point in that
Yeah.
game. And it this time it kind of matched the eye test. I didn't get to see the whole game, but um, I just thought, other than Chloe Bibby shooting well, like the second unit was hurting. I mean, like Dallas was just pulling away. It felt like every time the second unit was in there,
Yeah,
and
even this, I think, was the first time I've seen minutes from Timson that felt bad. Like she
yeah,
kind of had butterfingers. I think she only ended up with two or maybe two turnovers were credited to her. But like there were just a couple passes she didn't catch and just had a little bit of butterfingers. She only ended up playing 5 minutes, and just didn't really impact the game at all.
yeah. I just felt like, again, I'm not usually a big fan of plus minus for a single game, but I thought it matched my eye test from what I saw. It was like this. I mean, the starters got off to a rough start at the beginning of the game, but then they,
Mhm.
you know, got it under single digits, and then the second quarter, it just there was no rhythm or something. It just felt off, and so and then, um, yeah. So I thought that was interesting. The other thing, just looking at some stats, um, you know, in the third quarter, Indiana had maybe tied the game at halftime and got a little bit of a lead, and Aaliyah Boston, it looked like, was pretty active, and at the 4:59 mark, I think she made a layup, and Indiana was up six. And then for the rest of the third, she didn't get a shot, and
Mhm.
they lost the lead. And I
Yeah,
thought that was pretty big. Dantas took like three or four shots in that time and missed them all. And
yeah.
it's like, you've got to get Aaliyah more touch. She had ended up with 10 field goal attempts, but with Caitlin out, I think Aaliyah's got to get more than 10 field goal attempts.
Yeah, for sure. And then on the other side, you had Dallas with some of their role players having great games. Like Maddie Siegrist had a really good game. She ended up with 22 points on 9 for 13. Lee Yuru had a really good game. She had 20 points on 7 for 14. Um, Paige was kind of inefficient, but ended up with 16 points still. But yeah, those two, Maddie and Lee especially, really hurt Indiana.
Yeah, they did. I mean, Maddie had a career game, I think tied her career high. And so, I mean, there's not much you can do about that, but that was just a tough loss after a great win on Saturday. It's just tough following that up. We had talked last week that there was a real opportunity with four games against weak teams um, who probably aren't going to be in the playoffs and really needed to win all three of the home games for sure. And just hurts for the playoff push to lose that game, especially Vegas is getting hot now and has won since they got destroyed by Minnesota. I don't think they've lost a game.
Yeah.
And so, kind of pushes Indiana behind Vegas in the standings. And so, yeah, just a tough loss. But
Yeah.
hopefully, they can bounce back. They've got a game today against Washington and then a game on Sunday against Connecticut. And they really need to win both of those games, I feel like, for their playoff chances.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of games down the stretch are going to be really impactful with how tight the standings are. New York has fallen out of second place. Atlanta moved up, so it'll just be interesting to see how things go. I don't think home court advantage is completely out of the picture for Indiana yet, but they'll have to have a really good run here at the end to get a top four seed.
Yeah, it's going to be tough right now. By losing that game to Dallas is just makes it a little bit tougher. So anything else on the Fever for the games this
They
week?
signed another hardship contract. Kyra Lambert. I don't know. I'm not familiar with her. So I guess that means they're not expecting Clark back for at least, another 7 days, most likely. It helps having Odyssey Sims. She didn't do too much. I didn't feel like she was super impactful, but just having another guard and taking a little pressure off of Kelsey Mitchell is helpful.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody can at least be a net zero, or
Mhm.
either have to be a positive impact just to get rest for the starters is a
Right.
benefit, as long as you're at worst a net zero in your time on the court. So yeah, hopefully she can do that. I didn't think she looked great. Um,
Yeah.
but they made a comment, the announcers made a comment that she was nervous before the game because there's so many fans at
Yeah.
Indiana games.
Yeah.
So I thought that was, just reflects well on Indiana. And obviously, we're still talking, we always have to mention it's part of the Caitlin Clark effect. But yeah, I thought that was cute that she was
Yeah.
nervous about the game because of the number of fans. So way to go, Indiana fans. Good job just showing up even when Caitlin's still out, still coming to the games. So that was good. So around the rest of the league, there was a big game Sunday. We had the top two teams, Minnesota, New York, rematch. Um, each team had their best player out. So Stewie's still out for New York and Nafisa's still out for Minnesota. And Minnesota pulled out a big win.
Yeah, it was huge. Dijonay really contributed. Um, and then, yeah, just everyone overall, great game. And that really puts New York in a lot of trouble if they want to get that number one overall seed. It looks like Minnesota pretty much has it locked up now if they can break even, like go 500 the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean, Minnesota, it's not mathematically guaranteed, but realistically, it's almost guaranteed. It's almost impossible. Every other team would have to go undefeated, like yeah, Atlanta or New York would have to go undefeated the rest of the season to have a realistic shot at
Right.
catching Minnesota at this point. And hey, Minnesota's winning games without Nafisa, and hopefully Nafisa can come back soon, but they have the luxury of not having to rush her at all,
Right.
So the most important thing is get her healthy for the playoffs, and they've pretty much locked down the one seed. Realistically, mathematically, they are the first team to make it in the playoffs. Like,
Mhm.
they could lose all the rest of their games, and they would still make the playoffs at least.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, realistically, it looks like they've got the one seed wrapped up, which is great. We're cheering for Minnesota this year. Hope Nafisa can get a title.
Yeah.
But the Liberty, they went on a little run when they got Miesemann, but now they've lost to Minnesota, then they lost to Vegas this week as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's competition certainly, but yeah, having Stewie out makes a big difference for them. But once they get her back in, um, they'll still be pretty tough.
Yeah. And then I think the other note around the league that we wanted to touch base on is Seattle, which definitely is pushing to make the playoffs. They made the big trade for Sykes, who we
Mhm.
both like and has had a great season so far, but lost their sixth game in a row this week.
Yeah, it's crazy. Since June 24th, they've lost every other game at best. Oh no, I guess they had two wins there, July 3rd and July 6th. So I guess since July 6th, the best they've done is go every other game they've won and lost, and then six in a row. And admittedly, Los Angeles, Indiana, Minnesota, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Atlanta. So good teams, playoff type teams if Los Angeles can pull it off. But yeah, it's looking rough for them. And a lot of them were very close games as well. So that has to be frustrating. They lost a double overtime game to Los Angeles, a 4-point game to Indiana, a 4-point game to Minnesota, 4-point game to Vegas, a 3-point game to Los Angeles, and then a 10-point game to Atlanta. So I don't know what's going on with them.
Yeah, I don't either. Maybe it'll take a while for chemistry to develop with Sykes and the rest of the team, but yeah, I mean they're definitely making a playoff push, and they're going the wrong direction in the standings right now. And, Golden State continues to surprise. I mean, even without their best player, they're 2 games up in the loss column over Seattle right
Wow.
now for the last playoff spot. And, Los Angeles has been playing really well. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games, and seems like it's going to be between, well, Seattle has got to snap out of this, or they may find themselves in the lottery. And they traded away their pick
At
for
the time,
Sykes.
it seemed like the best pick to give up, but then they've lost 6 straight and are looking at potentially a lottery pick themselves.
Yeah.
So they have a couple more tough games coming up. They play Atlanta today and then Phoenix on Sunday. Then they have Chicago, Dallas, Washington. So they have a bit of a break there, hopefully for them, but that's rough.
Yeah, it is rough, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. Hopefully Indiana can get a couple wins this coming week and stay, in that fourth, fifth range in the playoff seeding. And then you had mentioned that potentially Indiana's targeting for Caitlin to come back when they play Minnesota this week.
Um, Well, so they have a game against Washington, then Connecticut. So then they have a 5-day break. And then they play Minnesota at home. So I think that's a possibility. They're trying to go really slow, it sounds like, and bringing her back and make sure she gets good time in practice and doing full speed stuff before she comes back. So yeah, that would be the Minnesota game is August 22nd. So hopefully um, that'll work out. And then that gives them a nice how many games would be left? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 games left before the playoffs. So that's a nice amount of time to kind of get her back into the flow of things, figure out the rotations and all of that.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, I know. Here's a thought. Dijonay joining Minnesota at first, I thought that was a little questionable trade. I wasn't so sure about it, but I shouldn't question Minnesota. Maybe I think they're a very smart team, and Dijonay has looked really good, and fit seems to be really important.
Yeah, I think it was tough at Dallas. I think she wanted a bigger role, and was one of their top 3 players, but it just didn't work out in the system. And going to Minnesota, she knows she's going to be a role player and she's done an excellent job. She's had double figures every game. She had 13, 12, and 15 in the 3 games with them and has just been really impactful. Another defensive player. Yeah, so it's impressive. It with Dallas, she was averaging single digits for sure, but her last couple games were 4, 8, 9. She had a 14, 4, 4, 5. So yeah, fit really matters a lot. And for someone like Dejanay, if she can be not relied on to be a main scorer, but just kind of get her points in transition, she can be really effective. So I actually think it was a really good trade for Minnesota.
Yeah, it's really looking that way, and the timing was probably really good with Nafisa getting injured. It really kind of
Yeah.
helped them get a good level player to help offset some of those minutes that Nafisa's missing. So yeah, Minnesota's looking like the class of the league right now. I mean, New York, if they get a healthy Stewie back, is going to be right up there with them as well. But they're going to have to learn. They'll still have some continuity things to figure out, get chemistry with uh, Misama and how they're going to work their lineups. So
Hmm.
I think those healthy, those are still the best 2 teams. But Phoenix is playing well, and
Yeah. Atlanta also.
Atlanta's playing well. So it's going to be just seem to be the top 4 teams right now have separated themselves, and unless Las Vegas has turned a corner after getting really embarrassed by the Lynx in that 53-point loss, maybe they've turned
Yeah.
a corner. But it
And
seems like there's a top 4 and then a
yeah,
little
for sure.
separation.
And even when Caitlin gets back, it'll be similar where they have to kind of adjust to things and it'll probably take them a while to get back to form. But you'd like to see them get maybe a 6 or 5 seed in the playoffs and try to win. I think they could win a series, against Phoenix or Atlanta potentially, but both of those have been tough matchups this year. But
Yeah.
that'd be kind of the next step for them, getting a playoff series win as they look towards a championship.
Yeah. I mean, that would be good. And I think we mentioned this already a little bit about the upcoming week. But they got a home game against Washington tonight, and clearly the front office of Washington has decided to throw in the towel on the season, but the players are going to compete, and they got some good players on their team, and um, so hopefully the Fever will be able to pull out the win tonight, and then Sunday against Connecticut. That's a road game, but Connecticut is probably the worst team in the league, so hopefully they'll be able to get those two wins, and then they Friday the 22nd against the Lynx.
Yeah,
So we'll see. Maybe the Caitlin Clark return. It would be great if she could, but I think the most important thing, more than winning that game against Minnesota, is just to make sure she's fully healthy.
sure. Yeah, I would expect a minutes restriction most likely when she comes back, just to be careful. But yeah, any Caitlin minutes will be good minutes.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna be traveling, so we'll have to figure out next weekend if we can
Mhm.
what the best timing will be. But we can probably make it work if I have decent Wi-Fi in South Africa. But yeah, so. Until then, hope the Fever can get some wins and we'll have some good games to talk about next week. All right. Well, I think that's it for the W Hoops podcast today. Everyone, please be sure to subscribe and leave a comment or a review, and we'll see you next week.